Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm Desiree. I'm the host today of The Women of Charmed, which is our new series featuring sisters from our incredible sisterhood. As you can see, I have an incredible goddess with me today. Her name is Esmeralda. We call her Esme over in our circle. And I'll just share just a tiny little bit about what I do. I'm the founder of the Secret Garden Society and Charmed Sisterhood, and I help sensitive, creative women stop shrinking, trust their own inner wisdom, and take tiny, brave steps towards the life that might be even just quietly calling to them. And I think a lot of us, especially if we're heading into the second half of our life, are really entering into a huge initiation where not only does our physiology shift and change, the way we think changes, our body is literally changing. There's so much going on. But if you're watching this, you might not be in that transition, but you might find yourself starting to listen to some whispers that are calling you towards the next chapter of your life. And I think you're going to love Esmeralda's story. She has a heart of gold. She is a real pillar in our community. She shares from her heart. Her stories are so warming. She's very good with her words. She is a mother, she is a wife, she is a career woman. She runs her own women's circles. She is a mystic and a writer, and I think you're gonna learn more about her. That's enough from me. Hi, Esme. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. And it's really interesting sitting with someone introducing you because I immediately ask myself, can I claim those words? Am I a career woman when I've taken a career break? Am I a mystic if I don't channel? You know how we all like question ourselves
Yeah.
and dim ourselves down, and I definitely suffer for that. Like I take sometimes humble a bit too far from where it's healthy and when it goes into the self-critical.
Yeah.
So, it's a good exercise because I in our last ceremony, I said I was ready to receive, so gotta sit with the discomfort. Can I claim those titles fully and happily? Yeah.
Esme, what is ceremony for any woman that might be watching or person that's watching and they're thinking, ceremony? What does that mean? I mean, we're familiar with these kind of cultural ceremonies in the Western world, but in a women's circle, what's a ceremony?
I think you can have a bit of a spectrum. So, a ceremony for me is the sense of I'm making this moment special. So, a most basic ceremony could be around a meal, and they can be the most elaborate ceremonies in some like priestess covens where everything is super ritualized. And I would say that charm sits more in the middle.
Ooh.
So there'll be an opening, which is already an invitation to be present in your body, give space for your heart and your soul, which maybe has been a bit shrunk during the daytime obligations. So it's really that beginning you're done with the well-held home base, which is first we arrive,
Or
and then we call in the kind spirits. There's many different ways that it can be created. Some people will call in directions. Elements is something I resonate with a lot because that's the cycle I'm introducing in my women's circles. Um, and for you, I would say that what sets you apart is the level of somatic work. So we will do meditations, we will go into guided visualizations. I remember once you did take us through our um, imaginative sanctuary. I don't know, it's not the word I was looking for, imaginative, but I'll say it's good enough, which would be common to us all, sort of a common refuge. And at times you would invite us to go back to that place, sort of, here's your Akashic records. Um, so that's element that is quite classic in, as I would say, pagan, um, modern pagan ceremonies is present. You often use this, let's meet the goddess, and what is your offering, and then what is the gift she gave you. And I will be fully honest, that's not the bit that makes the deepest change for me. I'm not big on meditation. I will often be pottering around, as you know, when we do our ceremony. So I don't always make it the perfect way, sat in front of my altar, burning incense and in the lotus pose. Sometimes I will. But I'd say 80% of the time I'll be hanging laundry and other things like that. I'm known
True.
for that.
I've seen you in
And
your laundry room many times.
which is something that I love about that's why I said you sit in the middle, because it's not so strict, so there's structure that can be very familiar to people who are already in their spiritual path, and they have maybe this expectation of how a ceremony is
Mhm.
constructed. And there's the liberty of joining as we are and not feeling the pressure. And that's important for me because I am probably Enneagram 1, which is the type that loves to do the right thing the right way. As a result, it can be self-critical and very judgmental of others and quite rigid. So that translates into me overcomplicating things often, not doing them as a result. And if I knew that I had to join Charmed, in today I have my kimono from Japan, or I have my crystals and
Sure.
Omana from India. But other times, we'll say grimy, but I'm just in the clothes from the day, dusty, whatever. Maybe I've gardened, and that's how I turn up. And like I said, I'll be doing something in parallel, and I never feel judged. And when you invite us to participate and comment, that's when I'll put my camera on and I'll come on and I'll talk. And then that's when you see my garage or my garden, depending on where I am. And I never felt like, you're not doing this right. And you're being looked down upon, which there's a recording of me, a testimonial I done 2 years ago, I think it was, for Charmed. I was in the Netherlands on holiday with our kids
Oh,
and my husband. And I shared how I'm going to use a common jargon for the people already a bit in sisterhood domains. It's called the sisterhood. And it's just whenever women compete against each other, put others down in order to feel better about themselves. And this sort of experiences you can have at work, or the classical story during your teenage years of rejection, of betrayal, of humiliation. So that's would fall under the sisterhood category.
yeah.
And so again, for me, if I had to come to Charmed in the perfect way, I probably wouldn't turn up very often.
Mhm.
Then that's already a liberty that's very, very important for me. So I think it's important to highlight that, because ceremony can seem scary, perhaps, to some, those who have never experienced it, and they may imagine that we all need to turn up, I don't know, in red and gold. I don't know. But what all the images, then we may conjure up.
Yeah.
Uh, and you allow us to really simplify it down to the minimum, which is just try and turn up live, whichever way, camera on or off, tears or smile. And that's, for me, that's a big reason why I'm here and why I've stayed here so long. Um, it's yeah, it's an invitation for me to just make it happen. You even have an expression for that, because you give us a lot of challenges and stretches, and it's just screw it, just to do it.
Screw it, just do it. Yeah, I think we want to have a non-intimidating space where it's non-performative, because so much of our life wearing a different hat for this, that, and the other, and we also need to show up in a certain kind of way if we're at a meeting with the teacher, for the kids, or whatever the case may be, like, we do have to wear this kind of performance face. But this, to me, this sisterhood is a lot about taking the masks off. And I think in order, this is what I've discovered over the last few years leading Circle is we, including myself, have to feel very safe. Like the first step is yes, arrive and to feel very safe and held where we have so much responsibility out in the world and the expectations others put on us, the expectations we put on ourselves. Often we're the glue that's kind of holding things together. And we think, oh, if I fall apart, everything's going to fall apart. So I feel as women, we really need spaces not to fall apart, but just to like let the stress kind of go and regulate and feel like, oh, I can actually explore who am I now? Not who does my family think I am? Who does work think I am? It's actually no, because we're always shifting and changing, especially if we're spiritual or mystical or we have a really open mind. We're not going to stay the same, are we?
Yes, and I would say the charm did so as we were trying to establish, I don't know exactly how many years, but let's say 3 years that I've been around, and it's been the place where I've been able to test a shadow part of me that I don't always show, which is, the one that breaks down, the one that, keep it all together, and there are 2 reasons why we don't show that one. Yes, there's sometimes people expectation, they're afraid of disappointing them and then being rejected. Um, but sometimes it's also in my case, but I think a lot of women who would be here are likely to have that sensitivity. We can be good listener, and so we attract other people um, sort of sharing with us their vulnerability. And while it's not a mask, we feel a certain responsibility to show up as strong and supportive when maybe we don't have the space at that moment for it. And mostly when we need to show up as vulnerable. And I'm going to stop using we because I shouldn't include everyone. Because everyone's got different experiences, but wouldn't always allow myself to do that because I'm thinking, no, this person's already so burdened. I don't want to add up to their lot and like have them worry about me.
Mm.
Or I've had that case recently in our charm messenger group. I was sharing that I was struggling and I could get some good vibes, and then I read another sister having a really tough time, and as that type 1 enneagram, I suffer from comparisonitis. So it can be this person is better than me, or it can be, oh my God, this person has it worse than me. How do I dare even ask for help when, you know, oh, how could I receive their help if they're
Mm.
worse off than me? That's not a classical as well.
Mm.
Um, so it was easier in Charm because you've constructed that to be the safe container where that was possible. Whereas sometimes in the friendships, like you said, we've already created a role and an identity, and it's difficult to open up and sort of walk away from that role. And it doesn't mean that I only have Charm to offer me that. It just means that Charm was the playground where I tested, and I
Mm.
could um, decondition that fear. I wasn't rejected there. I wasn't judged there, and then I could start doing it outside in my other relationships. And of course, as we evolve in this path and we dare taking those chances, we're also more ready to accept the people that will fall away because they do not meet us there. Maybe they were only one way of receiving and weren't interested in giving, perhaps. Um, so yeah, I was reflecting on that recently. These past few weeks have been tough for me, and even though nothing is serious, they're just this compounding of small challenges, frustrations, and for a highly emotional person like me, I heard a door opening, so there may be a curious face peeking up at one point. Yes, those are part of the judgments that I have is why do my kids have no sense of boundaries? Where did I fail there?
Interesting timing on that as they peek their
So
head
a
around.
moving tooth, which I can do nothing about because I'm not a dentist. So until we book the dentist, I cannot do anything right now at 9:45 p.m. on a Friday night in Belgium. So I'm going to invite you to go back to sleep. You pick it up again, okay? I think she want to be on camera. I think she will. I think she will leave until she said hello. Is that what it is? No? There's a little smile on the side because I know she's curious. And she's a bit of a theater girl. She had a big show today. I was
Oh,
really impressed. You played
really?
really well. You acted really well. Okay. Sweetheart, I was very clear. I was not to be interrupted. I don't know why you're not respecting that. Clear instruction. She's 10, so she understands instructions and expectations. So I know it hurts. I'm going to use the one spoon of that for again. Okay, when you're a fan. And then go use it. Yes, in the bathroom. Okay, one spoon.
That was
Yes,
perfect.
I know. Yeah, all the stories I'm in parallel telling myself in my head, this is embarrassing. Oh, what will people who are against giving medication to children think of me now that I'm allowing her to take an analgesic? And I'm giving her the responsibility to take it herself. And I'm someone who lives with all those voices in her head. And that's what makes those tiny challenges that I was mentioning so because I judge myself for the smallest deviation, perceived deviation. And it's that Buddhist teaching that um, there's the arrows you receive which create pain, and then there's the suffering of blaming yourself for receiving the arrows, and that's exactly what I do. Um, so yes, I reached out in the group, and I found myself. I observe. You've asked me one of your question pre-interview was what's the path, like what's the evolution you observe, and it's the steps one by one. I dare asking for help. Second, I recognize that I'm feeling embarrassed, that I'm feeling ashamed that, oh, do I even deserve to ask for help considering how privileged I am? Third step, I'm able to voice that, to share it with a sister. This is what's coming up for me. And fourth, I'm able to repair it myself by saying, and I realize that there's enough power and love in this circle that we can hold everyone, the ones with the small challenges and the ones with the big challenges equally. And that we all have a right to reach out when we need. And you get this outpouring of love inside Charms. And as well, as much as small challenges can compound to feeling like to leading you to despair, small, kind gestures can also compound to feeling supported. So again, in pre-interview, I explained that even though I'm Belgian, I do not have strong family roots here. So I don't have a blood family support like full-on Belgians would.
Mm.
And I've been constructing a community around them. That's probably why being part of a community is so important for me because I've had to build it every time. Every time I've moved away to different places, um, I've had to create this community around me. And what I've learned to do in the past few years, I don't know if the word is filtering because it sounds a bit harsh, but as I become or show more of myself, the people that stay are the ones that are able to welcome that. And so again, it started in the charm container where it was safer to try out. And it's expanded in my outer world. I could see it in those weeks that I was struggling. Also, in person, friends that I could meet here physically in Belgium, who were also very understanding, very supportive, very validating, very encouraging. And And it was especially necessary for me because while my partner is loving and supportive in many ways, he doesn't have the emotional intelligence to accompany me the way I need. And while I have a therapist and a psychiatrist, and my therapist also does energy healing and all that, those are occasional meetings. And well, the therapist is always open to, and there have been times where I've reached out to her for like an urgent appointment, like, yeah, what like flowers mix thing, and then but yeah, friends that she can reach out to in that way. And it's beautiful because in the Charm Messenger chats, I got responses, but also separately, privately, other messages of, I'll always be there for you. And even though we're oceans apart, it's it's very reassuring. And I also, at the risk of monologuing, because my brain is very associative, I come back to something you said earlier, which is performance. And you said I share vulnerably, but that's also been a learning point in Charmed because I used to share from a place that was either very, very detail oriented. I was lost in the story, and it was another way cognitively to step away from the emotions and not being in the feelings and not actually receiving the true nuggets of wisdom. And you would often like reorient me when I was sharing. I said in previous, you'd be like, Esme,
Esme, come back.
and And then the other thing, I would then go to the other extreme because I was so used to having this mask of the reliable one, the one whom everyone can count upon. There's a problem at work, anywhere, just I'm the problem fixer. I'll find the solution. Family, and my husband is the same. So um, it's a lot of unlearning. Um, so I would go from like that one who never appears to have any problems to total victim, and I'm the worst, and woe is me. And sometimes I have in the very beginning with the Heal the Witch Wound challenge, I shared like one of my, you asked us like, what was the story that really changed everything for me? And for me, it was a late miscarriage that was linked to being denied by medical professionals. Oh, here's the second one. Oh, guess what? It's not enough, of course. So what's this excuse? That's the 8-year-old.
It's
That's
on.
the third hug.
We
Like
four
you didn't
hugs
get
today.
it. What do you mean? Because it didn't count when you were all wet and you had your towel wrapped around you.
Aw.
Now you've got to bed because I know we'd have to get up tomorrow morning with me, obviously. And know they cannot help themselves. The normal maison, they've got to come and see what's happening. All right, good night, love.
Good night. Cute. What a sweetie.
Yeah, I used to feel terrible when I started in the so I have this spiritual ladies circle, which is a Facebook community, and I tried to hold some ceremonies as you were doing, some card reading or interviews, and yeah, they would always turn up. So again, I'd be like, how embarrassing! Why do my children not listen to me? And those it will really break how sort of my train of thought like it's done now, but even my sense of self because I was in this I'm trying to perform, like you said, I'm trying to appear professional and serious and it's all well prepared and I've got it all covered. And you've been teaching me this you when I was in the business accelerator with you, like one of your smaller containers, you told us and taught us that for the ceremonies, you had your structure, and often it was just this piece of paper. But then you were also happy to just throw it away if you could feel that the circle needed something different. And it's exactly what you did last Wednesday, because it was so you have the 4 meetings, a weekly meeting, and each over the months has a different topic. So there'll be a new moon, a full moon. There'll be seriously, I'm still hearing noises. Come on. Good night. There'll be a sister spotlight, and there'll be a trailblazer story series when you introduce us to inspiring women and invite us to embody their archetype and learn from, their strength. And when there's an oracle time as well, where we just all read together for a sister. But often it's for several sisters. But you completely let me take over the last that I have to learn all about.
Esme, take over.
So I'm sure you had something else written down, but you just went with the flow, and that was what I was needing. And I think the sisters responded well as well. Maybe because partly what I was sharing resonated, and then partly because we all if we joined this type of community, we're very much into giving. And so for all the sisters, it was the opportunity to give. And also, you always say leaders first. Like, if I allow myself to receive and not feel, am I taking up too much space, too much time? Will they not say it to me, but will they actually resent me because someone else wanted to speak and I just, kept the mic? Letting go of that. I'm also showing other sisters that there may be another day where they need to be the center of attention, because so often we are just on the sidelines taking care of everyone else, and we also need that.
Exactly. I couldn't agree with you more, right? Because I love what you just said, being in this center, like letting ourselves be in the spotlight, because we are always in the spotlight of our own life. But if we find ourselves on the sidelines of our own life day in, day out, I don't know about you, but I find time goes faster and faster the older I get. And we have to reorient ourselves back in the spotlight when we can, right? Which is what do I want? What do I need? I remember when I came out of a challenging relationship after many years, it was so tough to know what I even wanted for dinner. And when I was by myself and I was like, what do I like? I hadn't asked myself the question, what do I want? In something so simple as what am I going to have for dinner? And that's really when, for me, I realized I have to listen to my intuition, my instincts, and I want to really sharpen those and have them so available to me. And that's when I went down the rabbit hole of intuition development. And when I did that, something really surprising happened. I realized I had this encoding inside of me. Just like when I was a little girl, I realized I love dance, I love music, I loved having a goddess teacher I could admire. Like all my little dancer encodings were like bing, 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 bing. And then here I am studying intuition development, and there's these past life memories of being a priestess in Egypt in a past life, and also Claire is coming online where it was like, "Bing, bing, 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 don't forget, you are actually this too," and being so blown away by this other part of me that was inside of me that just came back online.
Yeah.
And it totally blew me away because my life was going one way, and then all of a sudden it's like, "Oh, well, now you remember all of this. We're actually going to do something different now." And that is quite wonderful just to discover, and we need to put ourselves in environments and conditions where new parts of us will come online. Now, if you're listening, it might not be the same encoding as whatever woke up inside of me, but we all have them. We have many inside of us.
Yes, that's true. That's the experience I had when I joined Charmed. I was after burnout and my career break, and I had exactly what you described. Is where do I even start? I don't know who Esmeralda is and what she likes and what she needs. It's when you've ignored your need for sleep, need for this, that for so long. It takes a while to learn to re listen to that. That's that little voice. And I'm still learning. I'm still falling prey to, oh, but others need me and this has to happen and this should be done. And the thing that I wish for will be later, perhaps. So I I wanted to say also something else about the evolution um around. Do you hear?
A
No.
little bit, but Zoom cancels it out, so
What
we
is my
won't hear
case?
it as loud as you're hearing it.
Two very loud sneezes.
Bless you.
Right. Where was I? I'm 43 going on 44. So I feel like I've gone from like pregnancy brain to mommy brain to getting close to perimenopause brain. So, and with a non-linear mind, right, an associative mind, I can go in all directions. But I know this will always bring me back.
I love the way your
It's one
mind
of your
works.
strengths.
It's incredible the way you're a big thinker and a broad thinker and very creative at the same time. It's
Thank
fabulous. Yeah. Yeah, but
you.
I think, like, coming out of burnout, listening to yourself, and then letting what I've seen for you, Esme, is letting new parts of you come on board. It's not this or that. It's not, "Oh, I'm
Yes.
the wife and the mom and the taking care of the house." It's like, yeah, we can do that, and also, I'm going to explore community building, um, making offerings locally in the town I live in online, and explore the leadership part that's beyond just the mom, right? And I've seen you do that so beautifully, elegantly in divine timing because there's no sense in pushing and rushing and forcing any of that when we do wear a lot of different hats. So I think you're doing that so beautifully. What I'm curious though is what is coming awake in you now? The way I was describing these new encoding coming online, something in me is waking up. What is that for you right now?
For me, I think more than new things is, and it's being described a lot in the spiritual world as well, is it's not so much what you're bringing in, it's what you're revealing, what was already there. And I thought that revealing meant something new was going to show up, but actually, it's learning to recognize this. I mean, if you wanted to be very 3D, you would say the skill set that is existent, what you do very easily, that for others would be a challenge. But because it comes naturally to you, you just feel like, well, yeah, that's some business leaders would say that's the part you should monetize even.
Mm.
And I don't know if I don't feel like I'm there, but even just realizing how I will see a post from someone and I will want to naturally promote because I really have this desire to help other women shine.
Mm.
Be on the toilet and I keep a fast diaper and in 5 minutes I will have created something. Yeah. Oh no, I remember I told you before. I need to show the charm ladies some days. There's a way of typing where you just sort of create the word, say I'm here, and I will say fast. Oh, okay, it wrote feast, but I can. So I don't actually type. I just do sort of F-A-S-T. And with time,
Really?
the dictionary gets sort of used to you how you
It's a
write, and
whole
it's
new way. Wow.
and see I can write sentences in seconds.
Oh
Anyway,
my.
do you
Side
remember
note.
that some charm lady asked me in a while ago, and I said, "Oh, someday I need to make a video of it or something." So
There you go.
here it
There you
comes.
go, everybody.
And
Yeah.
that's the bit where for now it doesn't look like anything tangible on the outside, but I know in a few years, as my kids grow up, as I develop myself as a leadership example, and I learn to recognize these potentials, these gifts in me. And
Mhm.
I'm also very good. I think a lot of us are very good at observing other people's potential, and the hardship is finding our own. Um, But then, yeah, so if it's already there and I can see other people's potential and I have this inclination, this hard desire to help them, to value them, um, yes, that can be the thing that I monetize over time, that I become, I don't want to use the word coach, more like this sort of, I like the word revelatrix, like revelator, in
Mm,
chemistry, of other people's potentials. Really, just as I develop, another one of my strengths is to develop networks. So as I develop contacts,
mm,
because I've spoken with some women, some friends, and I see this in them, and like, oh yeah, but I wouldn't know where to start and where to go, and then I could be the person who walks in and said, so here's the place, here's the person. Um, so that's in reality nothing new. That's always been who I was. I've always put people in contact. I've never been possessive in my friendships. For instance, see like, oh, Marie and you two just crack me up. Someday I need to put you together because I think you could be like, and then I do it, and then they're super happy. And then other people wouldn't like that. They'd be jealous of, oh, maybe this new person I've put in contact with, my oldest best friend, has now eclipsed me. Is she spending more time with her? Yeah, well, she doesn't have kids and they don't have kids. And so, yeah, it's easier for them to meet up.
yeah, you're a
And I can
connector.
accept
That's
that.
beautiful.
Exactly. So as I pull these threads and I see these are my strengths and these are things that I've been doing naturally at work, when I was volunteering, for as long as I can remember, probably if I think back far enough, that'd probably be like teenage years examples of that. I can start imagining how that could be a career, not the one I had before. That one is
Mhm.
gone. It's that fog, that's transition of the charmed life map. Uh, or that's, I don't know if you know that Cled Baron Reed oracle card, her famous wisdom of the oracle, the
Mhm.
between the worlds, where it's a flamingo between worlds. This
Mhm.
uncomfortable place where you know where you're not going back and you know who you're not being again,
Yeah.
but you're not quite the other person. And that's a lot of the struggle I've had the past few weeks, which is I find myself falling into the people pleaser pattern again. And like now my boundaries get broken. Um, and I get pissed off.
Mhm.
And maybe that's the perimenopause hormones coming in, the less
For just
estrogen.
being a mom.
But what I mean with that is when I recognize that I'm falling for the same thing again, I'm like, no, I am not doing this again. I'm not being this person again. And this afternoon, it was back to, you know,
Mm.
I'm not gonna give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm not gonna let you finish the thing you started. No, no, you're going to go back downstairs and you're gonna put your shoes away correctly and you're gonna hang your coat. And I'm
Yeah.
the annoying mom like that. And my husband doesn't find that important, so I didn't allow myself to make that big of a deal of it. And now I will, because it's important for me. I am not a Virgo, but as a Libra, I like beauty, and there can only be beauty if there's first a bit of order and cleanliness. There's no point decorating a mess of
Yeah.
a big pile.
You
Yeah.
have to stick to your standards, right? And that's just the way it is.
I know. So I'm in there. It's still happening. I still recognize that, but I catch myself faster. And I'm like,
Mm.
no, I'm not putting up with this anymore.
Mm.
And then there'll come a point where this won't happen anymore, even because I'll be so aligned that no.
Oh, well, you're doing such a good job, Esme, of being a mom and being there in the most formative years of your
Mm,
kids. That's what I've seen for you in the last few years is the dedication of being fully there and making sure they have experiences beyond just school even
yeah.
to grow and learn and discover and travel and that's huge. You will never regret that. You will never
Yes.
regret that. And you're young. You obviously have the whole second half of your life as your kids are getting older. The other thing is too, I think they're so a part of your life and they're part of our Zoom calls even sometimes and they're literally seeing.
Yeah, you put them to bed with a meditation once when
Oh yeah.
and when we had one-on-ones and they would turn up.
That's right. Ebony and I were doing a private session. We just turned it into a whole nighttime story night, and everyone was asleep by then. It was beautiful. So, the kids are seeing you and learning as you're learning too, and just what a gift. Like, I think I just can't commend you enough for that. We need to close this out. I could sit here with you all afternoon. This is like a real pleasure for me to be able to witness you, but also just sit here one on one together, even though we have an audience here. I feel this has been so delightful just to have time together. So thank you so much. Is there anything you want to leave women with today? You've described so much and given so much of your own story today, but just in this moment, what is on your heart to share with anyone who could be watching today?
Mm. When you said, "Do you have something?" It came from my mind, not my heart. All right.
Oh, well, you can do both if you.
Okay, so that's something that I had in mind before because I listened to a podcast called Being Well, and it's by a psychologist. Well, technically his son and himself, Rick Hansen. And they were talking about avoidance, which I touched upon earlier, avoidance mechanism and the numbing of it all, but maybe that was in the pre-interview. And they talked about exposure. So it's a clinical technique to accompany people through their fears and to overcome anxiety, etc. And it's a fancy word just to say, here's the thing you're afraid of, and we're going to build slowly towards it. And I was thinking, oh, but that's what Des does with her tiny stretches. Because they're always inviting us to do the thing that's just just right. So it shouldn't be too big, too scary. Just outside and up of your comfort zone so that you can have this win. Because there's no point like going for the thing that's too far. And I used to do that coaching. You could argue that was the coach's fault, but I can be pretty convincing. And I seem all put together, so they thought, okay, perfectly reasonable. But actually, I would set goals that were way too high, and then I would procrastinate, and I would not deliver, and then I would make me feel like shit. Uh, I like that you've always defined that. That the tiny stretch is really just not the thing that you always say, not the thing at the end of the call or the ceremony, whatever, or the summit, not the thing that you would already have done or you were already planning to do. There's something that you weren't daring to do, and now you're gonna make yourself do it. Not the re-traumatizing one, just a tiny bit. Sort of, you gave the elastic band example. Just stretch a bit more, and then you'll become more and more flexible, and the stretches will grow and grow. And then I can look back 3 years when we started, and again, there's no time for me to give examples, but the amount of evolution that I've done through those tiny stretches. But I did want to add what came from the podcast that was very interesting is for the tiny stretch to be even more efficient. You shouldn't just say, okay, I'm afraid of crowds, so I'm going to leave my house. That's the first thing, the small step that I can do. That's already great, but it may not be enough to reprogram your neural pathways to a more positive outcome. So what they invite you to do is to actually list your fears. Why are you afraid of stepping out the door? What could happen to you? Well, someone with a dog could just come and then the dog bites me because he got surprised I opened the door, imagining something.
Yeah.
And they really invite you to make it like that, an example that's very specific so that it can be measurable. Sounds a bit like smart now, like in the work environment, right? Smart, measurable improvements at work. But yeah, it's a valid logic. Because then you can, when you come back to your therapist and you said, okay, so I didn't go to Taylor Swift concert, of course, but I went to my local farmer's market and I was afraid that I was going to meet this person that was mean to me, whatever. And then you can disprove all of those fears. And as you discard those fears by proving to yourself they haven't happened, time and time again, maybe you need to go 3, 4 times, depending on your level of anxiety, go through the same thing several times, or maybe in a slightly different setting to disprove all your fears. And likewise, on the other side, there should be also an invitation to keep the good. So Rick Hansen has this really good quote, which is the mind, good things are, what is it? Like a sticky pan, and the other one, the bad things, the good things are like Teflon. So they never stick. you have this beautiful moment, it's like, "Oh, it's gorgeous, rainbow," and then you move on to hanging your laundry, me. But, oh, my son fell off on the pavement and he opened his knee, and that was me. I should have been watching, and I was on the phone and I wasn't paying attention. And then blah blah blah, we start telling us, and we really program in our brain, our brain is already for our survival tweaked to keep all the danger recorded much higher than the beautiful memories.
Yeah.
And so as you do this stretch, the invitation is to do two things: is before, list what are your fears and kind of disprove them. But they need to be specific enough that it shouldn't be just a feeling, oh, I'm going to feel bad. That's my fear, that I'm going to feel bad. Yeah. Well, you're probably going to feel bad because you've told yourself you're going to feel bad. That's not measurable. That's not identifiable.
Mm.
There's something concrete. And likewise, what are the things that you weren't expecting, the nice things that happened that you enjoyed through stretch this effort? So for me, it took a while to allow myself to go out again, because I was thinking, well, I'm gonna go out and then I'm gonna be tired, and then okay, I had so much fun connecting with my friends. I was so much in my body. I danced. I made these new connections for like potential business partnerships, and then you list all these positive outcomes that you hadn't even imagined when you stepped out of the door. And it changes, it rewires, the concept of neuroplasticity. So sorry, that was a bit long. That's the mind. I'm very intellectual. Ah, the heart. Okay. I'm just remembering to put my feet on the ground and barefoot on the wooden floor of my living room. And I've talked a lot. I'm very air and fire, loads of zodiac signs in those elements. And so for me, the greatest invitation is to call in those other elements, grounding with the earth, and allowing myself to feel the feelings, the emotions, without intellectualizing them, without telling the story behind them, which is something you taught me. You would bring me back. Esme, Esme, not the story. What did you feel? How did you feel about this? How are you feeling right now about this as you tell the story? So, water and earth are the ones that will be the most interesting elements to explore for me in circle. Because as you said, when we lead, we're also healing ourselves. So I'm going to start with water because that's one that I know I need a lot of.
Oh, I really felt the grounding coming in. Thank you so much. That was beautiful. I hope everyone, you felt that at home too, just that energetic shift. And we can learn to, like Esme's been talking about, have that emotional intelligence. We can learn to shift our own energy, help other people shift their own energy. And these are things maybe we're not taught in school. And so we come back together as women to honor our hypersensitivity as superpower. Our intuition is one of the greatest gifts we're given as women. Women's intuition is a real thing. And also our mind and intellect, of course, comes into play. It's just that we're rebalancing to both honor the intellect and the intuitive, and to give ourselves the opportunity of having a mystical experience, the possibility of a mystical experience. Because to me, the 5D is just as real as the 3D. And sometimes we have to compartmentalize them. But in our termed sisterhood, we're inviting to have both, and to be with women that see signs and synchronicities, that love being an oracle themselves for other women, because sometimes it's easier to give a message than to get it for ourselves because of the mind. So, clarity, embodiment, the mystical, friendship. So, we're not doing everything alone and we don't feel alone. And ultimately, a sense of belonging that becomes really important, that I belong somewhere. These are my people. These are my people. like you mentioned today. And thank you for giving a shout out to the women in the circle that have been supporting you too, because they have hearts of gold over there. Thank you, Esme. Thank you for
Yes.
spending your time.
I realized I forget stuff, so please,
Yeah.
when I described the ceremony, I wanted to say your signature. I never got to say your signature was the
Okay.
dancing, of course. Because I did this
Right.
meditation like everywhere, but the bit that
Yep.
really because I don't always respond well to meditation, especially as I'm hanging my laundry, is when you invite us to move, then okay, I'm gonna shimmy a bit. Up there the laundry for 5 minutes. It's a bigger invitation for me than the meditation. I'm always afraid to engage in it because I know I'm gonna fall asleep and then I'm not gonna finish the task I've set myself. But the dancing actually energizes me and gives me the what I need to finish what I was doing. So yeah, I just wanted
Thank
to
you.
put it out there that that's the thing that sets you apart is really the level of somatic. And again, dancing is not just about looking pretty. It's really about releasing a lot of these emotions that are stored in the body,
Yeah.
a lot of tension and stiffness. That's and you've seen me when I dance with you, I end up doing the odd
Yeah,
gestures.
you're amazing. And some of the videos you shared of you dancing around home in the kitchen, I'm like, she is a natural. It's so beautiful. Like that authentic, raw expression is what I'm trying to get out of people is to pull out, like, who are you really? And turn up the volume on that because you are the gift. It's not all the things you've learned, all the degrees you have, all the kids you have, all the treasures you have sitting there. It's you. It's just you, and that's it. And the more we can be ourselves and turn up the volume wherever we go, that to me living a charmed life because you're going to get so much feedback back from that, and life starts to get really juicy. There's more intimacy and connection, and opportunities seem to just flow our way. And to me, that's a life worth living. Yeah. So thank you for being a model there. Thanks, love. I better let you. It's getting dark where you are.
And my kimono. See, I could do wings.
That's gorgeous, and that color just looks stunning on you too. I'm gonna stop the recording. We can have a little post-interview chat, and we will see everyone else later. Thanks, everybody, for joining. This is our second episode in the series. I'm gonna ask Esme to nominate a sister for the next one, and stay tuned. Bye, everybody.